All right. Good morning, good morning, or good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world and on the planet. My name is Anthony Carter. I am the co-founder of Burn the Manual Productions, and this is our weekly Founders Chat. I'm here with my partner in crime. Say hello to the folks, and let's jump right in.
Hello, hello, hello. Welcome back another week. I'm excited.
Okay, tell them your name.
Oh, yeah, yeah. My name's OnJonet. Hi.
Okay, so
I'm so used to it now. I'm so used to it.
well, that's good. Hopefully, we're getting better at this and moving and grooving and growing. You are back in LA now, right?
I am
Oh
finally,
my
finally.
goodness.
Yeah, it's been my mom's wedding,
Okay.
and I went to New York very briefly, and now
Mhm.
I'm back, and it's nice. It was, man, it's so interesting to see how different the people in each city
Oh
is,
yeah.
and then just how each city functions. It is so hot in New York. It is so humid.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, that I have never been so exhausted. I have never walked this much. I've walked so much. Oh,
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
tired.
Where were you in New York?
Um, I stayed in North Bergen, like New Jersey, and
Okay.
then I was in Brooklyn, I was in like New York, New York. We went to Coney Island. So I was in everywhere, just kind of explored around.
Okay.
I went to see Phantom of the Opera. That was fun.
Okay.
But yeah, it was pretty crazy.
Yeah, the I've forgotten, I'm back on the East Coast now and I'm in Connecticut and I've forgotten about the humidity here. Because I was
Woof.
outside and I was like, what is this?
Yeah.
And luckily we have central air, so it's the house is not cold, but it's just cool enough so that when you come in from outside, you feel like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, okay. But yeah, the humidity. I used to once I lived in New York for a long time, as you know, and once I moved out of New York, I always swore I would never come back in the summer. Like that May to September block, I was like, we're not doing that, not having that because of the humidity, right? And I've forgotten that. And
Yeah.
man, I've been in Connecticut now for like 5 weeks, 6 weeks, and I'm thinking, what is this? And
Right.
it's all because of humidity. It's rough. It can be a little rough, but
Oh yeah.
but what else is going on in your world before I start talking about what's going on in mine? What's going else is going on?
Yeah. I mean, I think I not much. I have, besides just this kind of break or hiatus I took, which was very nice because I feel like
Hmm.
I've been working nonstop for a very long time.
Okay.
Um, yeah, I'm just excited to kind of get back to like work and everyday life, and that's really just where I'm at. I want to. I wish I could vacation every like 4 months to
Okay.
refresh.
Yes. Yes, that would be good. That would be good. Something I wanted to ask you about. I was thinking about it this week. Kind of gonna put you on the spot a bit. It's
Hmm.
something that's been on my mind and my heart has been about the possibility of what it um, looks like, what it feels like, the experience of being able to just work uninterrupted and being able to work on your craft uninterrupted. And can you share a little bit about, I think you and I have talked and we've said, well, you and I have talked and we've talked about how you never really had to work a quote unquote day job because
Hmm.
you were kind of afforded the opportunity to jump right into the creative stuff at the beginning and kind of never look back. Can you share a little bit about what that experience is like and any recommendations you have for folks that have that in their life or looking to
Hmm.
transition into that, how would they do that? Whatever that means to you. That's what on my heart this week.
Yeah, that's actually a really, really good question. So for me, it's something I knew so early on
Mhm.
that I knew that I needed to use as much as my time as possible, my time very wisely.
Okay.
So when I came over here for school, my biggest priority was how do I stay in LA? How do I make money? How do I get further in my career?
Mm-hmm.
And that always happened. I always had these big shifts in my career when I would look outside of my main situation, whether it was like going online, looking for online competitions, or finding other work to do that it wasn't just like doing work in school.
Mm-hmm.
And um, so while I was in college, my first few years was just solely, yeah, I got all my work done. I did what I was supposed to do, but I spent so much time entering film festivals, so much time communicating with other students from other schools. And that in itself really helped me get a lot of experience, a lot of awards, stuff that would help me later on in my career. So when all of my peers were graduating, they, were struggling to get jobs, they were working in mail rooms, and I, was able to work for bigger and better people and have better
Mm-hmm.
opportunities because I had more experience. And the only reason that happened is because I knew that I basically worked overtime back then, so I
Okay.
cannot do that now.
Okay.
And it's interesting. Um, so the first, I think, real world experience I had with like editing and filmmaking is when I went on tour. And I went on tour for 3 months after college. And I
Mm-hmm.
was filming and editing every single day in a different state. And it was really cool. And that really showed me that I was really in love with the craft. But not only that, but I really loved being able to move around and travel and work. And that's something like I've always wanted to do. And so I knew I had to somehow replicate the work I was doing moving around in one spot here in LA. So I started, I had the money saved up from the tour. And so I started taking gigs here and there, little work from home gigs, gigs that I could just bring my laptop to someone's house or studio or wherever and get editing jobs done. And after that, I just never looked back. And the one like piece of advice like I really have to give is
Mm-hmm.
that it's not an easy road and you have to truly be committed to it,
Mm-hmm.
because people look at me now and they'll go, oh wow, you've been working for yourself for a long time. Like when did it start? Like when did it spark? But I truly didn't like consistently work for myself and make a really good income until about 2018, 2019,
Okay.
which is only right like a few years back, really. Um, but it's you have to like wake up every day and understand that if this is what you want to do, this is the end all be all.
Right.
This is the like there's no choice. For me, I feel like I was in a situation, especially in college, not having a family here, that I had no choice. I was surviving basically. And the only way to survive and do what I like to do is to make it work. And that's kind
Mm.
of that was my mentality every single day. It wasn't, oh, I'm gonna just go to Starbucks and get a little job and see what happens. Like I would literally work so much, and I would hold out for a job with a gig before, and I would like wait on a gig before I would get a job at like a Walmart. So I could apply to
Okay.
Walmart, get a job, and that's cool. But I would rather wait, apply to a bunch of, editing gigs and put my resume in. And maybe in 3 months, I land something really cool and really big. And that was, and I don't know if that's may not be smart for everyone, but at the
Mm-hmm.
time, that was how I was going about it was above all, you need to be doing what you like. Do not take a job that you don't like, that isn't in your field. And that's literally how I was able to eventually work my way to working in my field, and not having to clock into a normal 9 to 5, having all the experience I have. It's pretty crazy.
Okay. Okay. Um, so let me ask you another question about that. Then I'll tell you
Hmm.
why I'll tell you why I know that came up because there's always a method to my madness and
Hmm.
some hidden gem of sanity in my insanity.
Yeah, yeah.
So my question, I think people would be interested in to know whether they're in the arts or not. Right? You're talking about having a dream or having a vision that I think
Hmm.
we all have them, right? From time we're little, we come to the planet with things inside of us, and either we nourish that and it grows and becomes something, or it doesn't, right? And we
Mm-hmm.
start doing other things, and we have all these reasons and concessions that we make for not going after what we really want to go after. My
Mm-hmm.
question to you is, but then how do you know? Because that sounds like a very informed decision. It wasn't something you just kind of like you like,
Mm-hmm.
oh well, well, it wasn't like, and it doesn't sound like you had a whole lot of examples of that working. So my question to you would be, I'm sure the people were wondering this too, how did you know that was going to work? Like, what gave you the indication that yeah, I can do this, make this work? This way of thinking,
Yeah.
this way of being.
Okay, so I think the answer that I would have given you like 3, 4 years ago
Mhm.
was I didn't know. I didn't know it would work. Like I
Mhm.
had no clue. I was just taking this big risk. But
Right.
the truth is, I was I had learned from even the little things, things like when I was in high school in sophomore year, and I was just like, I need to get out of Delaware. I need to get out of Delaware and I need to go to LA. And what I did is I made a plan. I was like, my family can't pay for me to just be here in an apartment. I need to get a scholarship. So I need to focus on my school. I need to do as much as possible so that I'm eligible for to go to a college and get a good scholarship. And
Oh,
not only
okay.
that, I was like, I need to be doing extracurriculars, things outside of my school that will help boost me, give me credits, awards, all of this stuff. And
Okay.
I need to do stuff that helps me travel as a child. So I would do like speaking competitions and all this stuff.
Hmm.
And so by the time it was my senior year, everything was already set. I knew I was going to go to Los Angeles. I had my college. Like it was great. But truthfully, out of it all, I learned how to plan. And I learned that if you work hard enough and long enough in the right direction, you can actually reach your goal. And
Okay.
so that little bit of planning that I did in high school just to see if I could reach this goal of moving to another state and going to school and blah, blah, blah. I saw that if I put the right work in and I did the research, that it could happen. And so basically, I duplicated that with the next
Got it.
phase of my life and my
Right.
career.
Okay, so that answers my question because that would be because and that's very advanced for somebody who's 16, 17, 18, right? To
Mm-hmm.
have that kind of planning and not only have that thought, but then to do the plan is a whole nother level, and then to execute the plan is a whole nother
Mm-hmm.
level. And then to take a plan that's been executed and say, okay, well, how do I apply what I did over here in this vein, right? Or in this venue, which I think I've done that too, and I was just wondering about what like was there ever any point where you had any doubt? And the reason I'm asking that is because I think my experience has been anything that I've done that's been substantial, anything that I think anybody that's done anything on the planet that's been substantial.
Mm-hmm.
It's probably something that hasn't been done before, or it's been rarely done, right, or attempted.
Mm-hmm.
So I think when you do that, a lot of times we don't know whether it's going to work because we haven't seen it, right?
Yep.
And we just
Yep.
and we and I think when you don't give yourself the opportunity to have an excuse about, well, wow, this isn't going to work, that's going to work, you kind of like you in many ways you force the universe's hand to support whatever you're
Mm-hmm.
trying to do, right? So the reason that's been on my mind lately is that I'm looking at, when I hear your story, it sounds to me. I was thinking about it about an hour or two ago. I've been watching, I don't know if you've seen this, but I got this list of these really great documentaries on Netflix. I've been watching the
Mm.
Bill Gates documentary.
Oh, I haven't seen it.
Yeah,
No.
it's really amazing just how his mind works. And because I'm always interested in how people think, right? All this other
Mm-hmm.
nonsense is nice, but I'm always interested in how they form their belief systems, which is what you're talking
Mm-hmm.
about doing, and how they think, right? Because
Yeah.
without those two things, you're not going to do anything, right? You'll talk. Your mind can work either for you or against you. It can talk you out of stuff, or it can say, you know
Yep.
what, let's try it and see. So I've been watching, so probably why that's been on my mind about you and basically being able to work uninterrupted, which is the thing I kept
Mm-hmm.
coming up with today. It's like when you get ready to do something, I feel like a lot of my younger years, there were all these different things thrown in my path. I don't know if they were thrown in other people's paths, but
Mm-hmm.
I feel like it's a different path where you know from an early age what you want to do. That's
Yep.
different than kind of like trying different things and kind of bumping around in the not really bumping around in the darkness of the wilderness, but not having a clear cut path because
Mm-hmm.
the world is telling you one thing and you have something else that's in your heart and inside of you that you want to do, right?
Yep.
And if you're constantly interrupted, and it's not that, I think the interruptions come just from being a human being on the planet, right? You
Mm-hmm.
have to, a lot of times you have to manage them. So I was thinking about you and I was like, well, I wonder, what is it doesn't sound like she had any interruptions. That's what I was thinking about you today. And I was watching Bill Gates and I was watching how particularly his younger years,
Mm-hmm.
you see how, he had all these ideas and things he wanted to do. And from what I can tell, there weren't a whole lot of interruptions. Of
Yeah.
course he had them because, I mean, to be human is to have them. But
Mm-hmm.
it's one thing to have an interruption when you're 30 and you've been very successful. It's something else, I think, when you start getting discredited or people try to talk you out of
Yep.
what you do and you're still trying to formulate it. Like if a bunch of people had come along and told you,
Mm-hmm.
well, Delaware is fine. What are you doing that? People that quote unquote should know better, people that you love and believe in, right?
Mm-hmm.
All of a sudden, it's dissuading you, basically. I
Yeah.
always I've been thinking about it. I've been watching that. So if you get a
I'd
chance,
love to
watch
talk
that Bill
on
Gates.
I love to talk about that part specifically, like the interruptions, because I have to say, like when I was younger, I was I did everything right at the right time. I always
Right,
say, I worked very hard, but I consider myself very lucky because I went to this one film festival and I was talking to one of these directors, and he was like, you have to ride the wave while it's at you. Otherwise, it may not come to you for the next, year or two, next few
right,
years. So
right.
don't matter if, don't second guess it, just ride it and like go with it. And from high school to college to now, I've been very lucky to have caught these waves and rode
Okay.
them and just kind
Mhm.
of made this decision. Sure, there was like little hiccups here and there, or I'm just like, oh, what do I do next? And I'm confused. But that just a lot of that is just, growing up and figuring
Mhm.
life out. But I I'm such an advocate for like kids when they're younger to like, and it's such a cliche, but do everything you want to do, or at least set yourself up for what you want to do while you're younger.
Mhm.
And minimum at least the mindset. um because if you in your mind are like, I'm no one's stopping me, like I'm gonna do what I have to do,
Mhm.
um there may be interruptions, and not everyone comes from a decent financial situation. There's so many things, and things that can get in people's way. But for me, like I got so incredibly lucky, and then I took those moments that I had, and I worked really hard, and I pushed it and pushed it and pushed it until I had no more luck left.
Right.
And that's
Until the next
basically,
wave. Right.
yeah, yep,
Right.
until the next
Yeah.
wave. So it's I always go back and like thank my even younger self, because I am not, I want to say I'm not as tenacious, but I don't have as much patience as I did when I was younger. Um, I still have drive, but I'm not as naive. So these things that I have to do, these bills that I have to pay, there's a lot more factors the older
Mhm.
you get.
Mhm.
And when I was younger, it was just like, oh, I just gotta make sure I eat one meal today and I'm good and I can just go on. But
Right.
now, I have a household, I have dogs, I have a family. Like I spend a lot of time trying to make sure that I'm comfortable. Um,
Right.
and a lot of that has been a thank you from like the younger me, because I'm just not as, I don't have as much energy, truthfully. So,
Okay. Yeah, it does change as you get older, and I think you learn. I don't know if a person. I wonder that about me sometimes about whether or not I still have the same energy level. And I think it's more. I understand that that many things are finite. Like I understand the
mm-hmm.
difference between. I understand the difference between something that's infinite and something that's finite, right? Like you have this many
Yeah.
hours, or you have this much energy, or you have this much attention, right, for whatever it is you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
So you don't. So rather than do a bunch of rather than do 10 half-ass projects, I'd rather do
Yep.
two really kick-ass ones. And it's like,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I could do all of that, and you'd get about 30% of me,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
And then I'm a smidgen, I'm running on fumes, and I'd have a smidgen of attention. So we don't want that. I
Yeah.
would rather have two or three really great projects going and get them
Well,
completed.
there's also like a beauty in like getting older and understanding like if I put this work in now, I know exactly what's going to happen a year from now, 2 years from now, versus when you're younger, it's just, oh, I'm just going to try this and see what happens.
Right.
And you kind of don't really have that much a big idea of reality.
Hmm.
Um, and sometimes I think, it could be good and bad, depending. And I just feel like oftentimes I'm trying to get back that younger mentality, just a little bit of like, just try it. Because now I know, and I think I overthink a lot of things, projects, because I'm just like, well, I know exactly where this will end up, versus coming from the mindset of, well, let's just do it and see where it goes.
Well, I
So,
think, yeah, there's something to all of that. And I think, thank God that in my 50s and 54, I still have an inordinate amount of curiosity.
you
And I
do,
think
yes.
so. I have a lot of curiosity, a lot of need to explore. But I
Hmm.
also think the other thing is, like you were saying, I don't quite agree with I'm just paraphrasing what you just said. I don't quite agree with like knowing where things are going to end up because I rarely know where things are going to end up, and I'm okay. It's not
Mm.
like it's like I know ultimately. And I think the difference is I still have the curiosity, and I'm always looking for a particular experience, right?
Okay.
Which doesn't necessarily equate with it should end up over here, right? It's like,
Hmm.
okay, well, I want to have the experience of making a documentary film. So then I make a documentary film. I want to have the
Yeah.
experience of publishing a book. So then I publish a book. And I think maybe this is flipped. I think when I was younger, I had these expectations thinking that whatever I was working on or the next thing was going to be the one that was going to be the one, right? Was
Hmm.
chasing
Hmm.
this whole thing about the one, the one, the one. And, like I said, and I think the one may have come and gone, maybe it didn't come yet. Or if there was a wave of it, like you said, now I know, like you just said, about riding the wave.
Yeah,
Like
it's
you do something
interesting.
and you don't know
Yeah.
why things will click with people. And it's not up to be a question. It's like, okay, it clicked. How do we exploit this and get as much juice out of this as we can to get to the next thing, right? And all the time
Hmm.
between those peaks, between the peaks, you're in the valley, the peaks and the valleys, you're working. So it's never like you don't really
Yeah.
have time off. You're like, oh well, this film got really well received. I'm gonna take 6 months off and think. It's like, no, you don't have that kind of time.
Hmm. Hmm.
So I think
Right.
when you are my experience has been when I'm chasing or going after an experience, I'm never disappointed, right?
Interesting.
When I am looking for a particular result, I feel like I'm always setting myself for a disappointment.
That's so fascinating because
Yeah.
it really does. It's almost like the opposite in how we thought because it's so crazy because back then I was so focused on like the slow build. I was like building these blocks to get to
Hmm.
where I need to be. And the thing is, I did so much building and did so many cool things. Now I'm where you were, where I'm like, okay, this is the one. This must be the one. That maybe this is. And that's my mindset now because I'm like, I'm done building. I don't want to build no more.
Right.
But I love that you're talking about chasing like experiences and
Right.
going after that. That is actually a mindset that I don't often like put myself in of just experience what it's like.
Well, yeah, I mean, and it's not something it's something I learned, lack of a better term, experientially.
Hmm.
When I was in my 20s and running around New York City, you know, that was the thing. I think I was with a group of people, we were all chasing whatever that thing was, right? Whatever it
Mm.
was at that particular week.
Hmm.
If you got a commercial, that means you can book a commercial. If God forbid, if you were an actor in New York City in the 90s when I was there, and you hadn't been on Law and Order, that just, you're
Hmm.
just the worst piece of, you know, you
Yeah,
might as well like,
yeah.
forget it. You're wasting your time. But as I got older, and by the time I moved to California, I moved to right outside of LA, when I was on the West Coast, by the time I got there, I was 40. And I just realized I was like, hey, well, wait a minute. I'm chasing all these things and I'm putting all this pressure on me and everybody around me to have whatever this next
Mm-hmm.
thing be the thing, right? And I realized I was like,
Right.
well, maybe that's why it's not happening, and or it's not happening the way I think it should happen. Maybe we
Mm-hmm.
phrase that because, and then once I decided to, let's just go after what kind of experience do you want to have?
Right.
And I think my experience is when I've done it that way, when I'm going after experiences, I take the desperation out of the equation. So it's kind of
Mm.
like, okay, we're here to have a good time and learn and be curious, right? And what happened?
Right.
That doesn't mean we want a disaster,
Mm-hmm.
or we
Yeah.
don't prepare, but it takes that whole level of desperation and oh my God, out of it. So
Yep.
I will leave us with that note. I do have a quick question I want to leave us with. I'll
Mm-hmm.
kick it off to you after you answer, then I'll answer it. So tell me about something that you learned this week.
Ooh. Um, I learned. Ooh, okay, okay. This is a good one. Let me see. I'm gonna word this. This this week, I learned how to just go with it.
Okay.
And I'll explain briefly. So I wasn't gonna go to New York. I learned how to relax, truly. I was gonna go come straight back to LA because I was just like, I went to the wedding and I'm just gonna go back and work and I don't want to spend any extra money and da 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 da. And I was kind of gonna hop into my same very like workaholic mindset. And I decided very last minute, like I changed my flight at the very last minute and said, you know what, no, I'm gonna, stay in New York and I'm just gonna like see what happens. And I ended up having the best time ever. I feel like I was relaxed. I felt like I took a vacation. It
Mm-hmm.
really like rejuvenated me. Like it felt amazing. And I had not I feel like I haven't had to make that decision to chill out or relax or had to make that decision for myself in a long time.
Mm-hmm.
Because I wasn't really thinking about it. I was just like, you just work and when it comes, it comes, and then whatever. So yeah, I learned how to kind of just go with it, and I'm very, very grateful.
Okay, very good. So this week for me, it's so funny. I've learned, I think, the opposite. I've learned
Mm,
about, it's kind of a two-parter or maybe a three-parter for me. I've learned that um, it's okay to be obsessed with something to
mm-hmm,
get some, to get to, and you need some of that to move things forward sometimes. Like you need to be that focused and it needs to be, we're not eating, we're not sleeping, we're not drinking, we're getting this done, right? So
mm-hmm,
I've learned that it's okay to do that. I've also learned that talking about being curious, I've also learned that I still have that. You and I talked about this a couple of weeks ago about being back in this mode, being on the East Coast,
mm-hmm,
and it's a different mode than being in LA, or being LA adjacent. And I've learned that I
mm-hmm,
still have that. And the third part of it is, like I said, this is all part of, I think it's one thing, but it's three parts. The third part of it, I know that when I need to, I can turn that on in a moment's notice. Like when it's
mm-hmm,
time to like
mm-hmm.
not screw around and get like laser focused, I can turn that
Yeah.
on or not. You know what I mean? And that's once
Yep.
again talking about having I can decide here's an experience I need to have right now. Like this needs to happen. Like we got this much
Mm-hmm.
time. Like I said, I'm here on I just moved back to the East Coast and I've been job hunting. The last week,
Mm.
Monday through Friday, every day, 8 to 12 was my job hunting time. 12 to 1, I
Yep.
had lunch. 1 to about 3 or 4, I worked some more job hunting. Then I put it away for the day. And I did that every day, Monday, Tuesday, did that every day. And I had an interview, applied for something Friday, had an
Mm-hmm.
interview. Somebody sent me something right back. I have an interview, and people are responding, right? But I know they're
Yeah.
responding because I've been that like focused and that obsessed with like making this happen. This is the next thing I need to have happen. So for
Yeah.
me,
Yeah.
the big lesson this week, the big learning was, yeah, I still have it. It's okay, and I know how to. And it's almost like I'll leave you with this. It's almost like I heard Shaka Khan say. I was reading an interview with her years ago, and she was saying that when she was younger, it was like these wild horses, right? Because she was a young kid and she was in this group, and she's 18,
Mm-hmm.
19, 20. So you're insane. That's not what she said, but I know I've been 18, 19. And she was talking
Yeah.
about the differences when you get older. The wild horses don't go away. You just know how to tame them. You know how to
Mm.
basically take the reins, not get thrown off the horse.
Yeah. Yep.
Like
Yep.
and
Yep.
direct the horse. We're going in this direction, making a left. If we get to the tree at the end of the block, we're making a left or making a right. And I thought that's a really good analogy. And that's what I've been feeling
Mm.
all week. It's like, yeah, I'm just, I've got the reins. What do I
Oh
want to do?
wow.
What needs to happen now?
Yeah.
So I will wrap it up. We went a little long, but this was a good chat. Um, uh, I love the stuff that comes out when I put you on the hot seat.
Yeah.
Now I just like
Nice.
say hello and then stop yapping.
Mhm. I know. Love to talk.
You said I love to talk or you love to talk?
Both of us,
Yeah.
both love to talk.
Well, I feel like we learn so much. It's just like you hear stuff and you're just like, okay, I hadn't thought about it that way. So that's good. We're
Hmm.
doing good stuff for the planet and the world. Okay, so tell everybody where they can find you. We get out of here.
Yep. You can find me everywhere at Malaya Music or at BurnTheManualProductions.com.
Okay. And my name is Anthony Carter. We are both co-founders of Burn the Manual Productions. Tell stories, change the planet, change the
Hmm.
world. I can be reached at burnthemanualproductions.com or my website, anthony-carter.com, anthony-carter.com, or I'm all over Twitter all the time. Okay, Miss O, we'll talk to you soon. Thanks again for a wonderful Founders Chat. Happy Sunday. I will talk to you soon.
This was great. See ya.